Hi guys, so this one's going to be interesting to say the least. I'm going to go ahead and give you a walkthrough on the trivial flag transfer protocol because this is one that involves a lot of different elements. There are a lot of different things that you have to do. It's not just one simple, hey, I'm going to go get the flag and I go to one place and there it is. This one, trust me, it involves something. This would be one of those that would make you scream and break stuff in a contest because this is a fairly long and involved. It's not hard by any stretch of the imagination. All the operations are fairly simple, but the the process overall is modestly complicated. So this would be considered a medium as far as difficulty level goes. This would be a medium. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so what we've got here in this exercise, we'll be looking at pack analysis tool, WireShark, and see what we can do with the instructions. We download the PCAP file and then use WireShark to figure it out, and then find the flag, paste it into the text box provided. You know the drill by now. We have a hint down here. It says this is a fairly involved example. You'll need Linux for this one, or at least the Linux subsystem. It will work in subsystem this time. You'll also need to understand how to install programs in the Linux subsystem, and you'll also need to know how to follow a stream in WireShark. So as you can see, this is going to be a fairly involved process. Obviously, the first thing that we need to do is download the PCAP file. So I'm going to right-click here and just say, excuse me, save link as. And it's a PCAP file, so I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to go ahead and start it. You should just be able to click on it because you've already got WireShark installed. Now, as you can see, there's a lot. There is a lot of stuff here. And so that's a lot of packets to go through. Fortunately, we don't have to go through all of them. The ARP packets we can ignore right now, I'll tell you. ARP is just a ping. Basically, the idea here is that these people used a computer to upload a file, and now they want to, they've hidden the flag inside the file. All right, so let's just kind of look through and see what we've got. Like I said, you can ignore the ARP stuff. TFTP is a file transfer protocol. It's an application that allows you to upload and download files. And so that should tell you something. What that should tell you is that this is going to be a file, probably going to be a binary. So as we're looking through here, let's see. Okay, right off the bat, this first packet, instructions.txt. So that will tell you right there that there is a binary file of some kind, because that's a text file. Same thing down here, another file called plan. Let's see here, as we're going on down, do I see anything? Yeah, there's a Linux program called program.deb. That means it's specifically for Debian, but it's been encoded, so it's also a binary. And as we scroll through, these are just pieces of that program, basically. These are chunks of data. And there we had to ping to reestablish our connection. Let's see if there's anything else useful through here. Most of this is just that deb program being downloaded. That's the thing about using WireShark, is it picks up the things that you may have downloaded. It will also save those things. It saves the packet data. So is there anything else of interest? Nope, that looks like it. So basically what happened here is somebody used the trivial file transfer, trivial FTP program to download some files. Now what you can do in WireShark is you can come up here to File, and you can do an Export Objects and TFTP. This will what it does is it takes the objects that are scattered, the pieces are scattered throughout the packets, it puts them all back together. So if we export the objects TFTP protocol, what we find is there's an instructions.txt file, there's a file that's called plan, there's a program called program.deb, And then there are 3 BMP pictures, which that is actually very important. And I'll explain why in just a moment. So let's go ahead and save all this stuff. And we're going to save it in my downloads folder. Actually, let's go ahead and save it to the Linux folder, because frankly, if I can do that, I don't know, I may have to save it to downloads and then dump it to Linux. Let's just do that, because frankly, I'm going to call it TFTP. All right, I'll call it that. I'm going to save it to this folder, and then we'll just move it into the Linux folder. All right, so I'll save there. And close. And that should have put everything into a folder inside my downloads. Oops, come back here, downloads. Alrighty. So now somewhere in downloads, I should have a folder called TFTP. So let's look. There it is. And inside there, I've got the instructions. I've got the 3 pictures, BMPs, bitmap pictures. I've got the plan, and I've got this Debian program. So now what I need to do is I'm going to read the instructions. That's all. If you get a text file called instructions, it's always a good idea to read it. So if I double click on that, what I get is this. Now, it's obvious that this has been encoded. There are several different possibilities. I know that it's not base 64 because there are no digits in there. There are no special characters. Usually a base 64 will have digits and special characters. That also tells me it's not hex. Hexadecimal will also have numbers, regular numbers, and special characters in there. A very popular form of encoding in these contests is called ROT13, R-O-T, and it's basically a Caesar cipher. What they do is they take the alphabet and they scoot it a certain number of numbers. For example, if you had A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, and so on, and if they scooted, let's say they used the number 3 as the key, that would mean they scooted all the letters over 3 places. So A, B, C, D, we'd start at D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N. And then when we got to Z, we'd start back over again. So ROT13 is a really popular Caesar cipher. And I'm going to bet you a nickel that this is ROT13 here. So the way that we'd find out is we copy it, and we go online, and we look for ROT13 decoder. Oh, and we go to rot13.com, we paste it in. Now that, let's look at that. It doesn't look much better. Until we start looking at it, and then what we find is that all they did was they took out the, and this is another common thing, they took out all the white space. So if we put the white space back in, it's certainly a lot easier to read. Oops, I missed that. There we go. That's what I did. All right. Okay. Excuse me. Okay, so now let's see. Oh, look, TFTP doesn't encrypt our traffic. No, it does not. So we must disguise our flag transfer. Figure out a way to hide the flag, and I will check back for the plan. So now we know that somehow or another the flag is hidden in some of these files. Let's go back and see what else we got besides the instructions and the 3 pictures. Don't want to save that. Okay, so we got 3 pictures, which I can tell you right now, because they're BMPs, it's very possible to hide stuff inside a BMP image. That tells me right away that something in these pictures. What are these pictures of anyway? All right, let's see. The first one is. What is the first one there? The first one is a lovely picture of a canyon wall. The next one is more canyon. And the next one is Great Pyrenees dogs in a canyon, probably looking for sheep. So, those are the three pictures. We have canyon, canyon, and dogs. I would be willing to bet you that there is a flag hidden in one of these pictures. So that tells me a lot. Now, we have this program file, which is specifically because it's a .deb file, that tells me it's for Linux. So we're going to have to put this in a Linux environment here shortly. And also, we have this plan. It's just labeled as a file. It's always a good idea to open something like that with Notepad, just because, or if you're in Linux, to CAD it. But I'm going to use, since I'm still in Windows, I'm going to go with Notepad. Aha! And once again, it looks remarkably to me like we need to go back and look at ROT 13 again. And once again, they've done the same thing. Let's see, I used the program and hit it with due diligence. Check out the photos. All right. So I used the program, which obviously that is the program here. So we did something with this, which tells me that this program is some kind of a decoder or a de-encryptor or something like that. And what we need to do is figure out what it is. And to do that, because it's a .deb, we're going to have to put it in Linux. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this TFTP folder. I'm just going to copy the whole thing, and I'm going to dump it into my Linux distribution here in my right there in my Linux folder. And then I'm going to go into Linux and see if I can do something with that. Due diligence. That's interesting. So I'm going to open up Linux, and I'm going to see where I am. Type in ls. You guys haven't done those command tutorials yet. It probably wouldn't hurt if you're not familiar with Linux already. All right, so there's my TFTP folder and my documents folder. So I'm going to go to TFTP. Let's see, there's my picture, my instructions. Now, if you've never installed a deb program before, the way that you do that is you use apt install, but you have to do sudo because you have to be a super user to install. So I'm going to sudo, and I'm going to go apt install /program.deb, and that will open whatever that deb file is and install it. One in my Okay. Oops, wrong password. I felt my finger slide onto another key. Aha! Ooh, interesting. Right there. All right, so it's trying to install. Some packages couldn't be installed. And right here, the following packages have unmet dependencies. Steghide. Remember we talked about steganography last night? Steghide is a program that does steganography. But it looks like they try to change the name of it. And that also would explain why those are BMP files, because Steghide uses BMP files. And that right there is the solution to our deal. So we're going to go ahead and install, instead of installing the program, we're going to install Steghide, because I know how to do that. Sudo apt install Steghide. Oops, and I guess I already have it installed. How about that? Okay, Steghide's already the newest version. All right, so let me get back to my LS. All right, so I've got the pictures. Steghide uses BMP format pictures. So the way that you do it is you go back here and look real quickly. I need to verify that I'm doing this correctly because I have only done it about a 20 or 30 years ago. So, but there's a format that you have to get, and you have to get it right. So you use Steghide. Yeah, and I don't have to do it pseudo. You have to extract because we don't want to encode; we want to decode. Use the parameters SF, and then we're going to do picture one. Let's just go through them like that. Picture one.bmp, and now here's going to be the problem. If there's a password, we're stuck because we're going to figure out what the password is. And there's a password. That's what I was afraid of. All right, let's go back and look at our file again because that. Okay, I used the program and hit it with due diligence. So what that makes me think, I'll tell you really, because I've seen stuff like this before. I hit it with due diligence. That tells me that they used due diligence as the password. So I'm going to try that. DUEDILIGENCE. I hope I spell that right. But that is the passphrase because it tried to extract. So let's try that again. Let's use BMP2. All right, extract. Picture 2. I hate doing this because you have to spell it. DILIGENCE. Whoop. I forgot the -P to tell it to use a password. My bad. Got to do -P there and then put due diligence. Spell that right. Okay, so the third time's got to be the charm. Steghide. Oh, look at that. Wrote extracted data to flag.txt. And now if we go back in ls to list our directory, somewhere in there, that first file is flag.txt. So we're going to cat flag.txt. And sure enough, Pico CTF hidden in plain sight. All right. So that that's a moderately involved project right there. All right, guys, so that is a fairly involved example. Let's kind of recap it. First, we downloaded the capture file for WireShark, and when we analyzed it, we discovered that it was a TFTP, which means they were transferring some kind of file, in this case, pictures and text files and a program. So once we knew that, then we can go into WireShark and use the extract objects in the file menu, and we can get basically if you download a picture file or an MP3 or what. Remember what I was talking about last night that we used to encode things in the news groups and do it as text? That is exactly what they did here. They encoded those 3 pictures and the program file and all that as basically text when they sent it through the FTP program. And so, of course, the PCAP, the capture process, captured all that file transfer because, after all, anything on a computer is just numbers and text in the end. So WireShark captured it, and then we could reconstitute it and extract it. And so we got the 3 pictures, we got the program, we got the instructions and everything. And once we did that, then we were able to decode the instructions with ROT13. And then we were able to decode the plan with Route 13. And then we were able to go back and figure out the password for the Steghide when we got that installed, that program. What they did was they took the Steghide install file and renamed it program.deb. And because they knew if they just left it as Steghide.deb, then we'd know immediately that those BMPs were what they were using to hide the information in. So they tried to hide it, but it didn't work, because when you install it, what it does is it tells the computer what it really is, and that's Steghide, which is a very common steganography program. We can use that going forward a lot, because you can do a lot of stuff with it. So basically, once we did that, we extracted the text data from picture number 3, and it dumped it to a text file called flag.txt. And when it did that, that's all we needed. Then we read flag.txt, and that was our flag. So, all right, I hope this was helpful. Let me offer you some advice, and this is good advice. Don't just do these one time. Go back and redo them. You don't have to paste the flag back in, but just go back and find the flag, and then wait a couple days and go back and find the flag again on the ones that you've already done, and see that you remember how to do them, because that's the best way to practice, is to practice over and over again. What you're going to eventually see is patterns. Remember, we were talking also the other night about, okay, well, anytime I see the word cookies in a web exploit question, that automatically should trigger me to think, oh, hey, I probably better check the cookies. Or anytime we see something like, something about inspecting, you probably should go and inspect the page. So make sure that you go back and do these over again. Like I say, you don't have to resubmit the answers, but just go back and find the flags again. And do that, just over and over, and eventually you'll get to where you can start solving them on your own, where you can see these things and go, hey, this is obviously that, because they create these things in patterns. And so I hope this is fun. I hope it's not boring, and that you guys are having a good time. I will do my best to get us signed up for the next contest, and hopefully like I said, I have no expectations, because none of you guys have ever done this before, so it's just a thing. I have got zero expectations on this, but at the same time, it'd be fun to play. So I'll see you guys Thursday night. Have a good week, and keep working on these, okay? Bye.